Hey everybody, welcome back to Darcy Nugan's Toy Reviews. Today we're going to take a look at Masters of the Universe, Battle Armor He-Man, and Battle Armor Skeletor. So what we have in front of us here is we have both our Vintage and our Origins lines. We'll start all the way over here on the right. We have our Battle Armor He-Man. Now he came with the Battle Axe, as well as the Power Sword. He's got all that standard articulation, arms, head, legs. The waist, he did not have the spring back action, and that's because of the mechanism inside of his chest to allow the little damage piece to work. So you can tap it, and you can see you got damage. Tap it again, you got more damage, and then you could basically roll it back to get to that original. See if I can get it to stay. And it's hard to get them to stay sometimes when they get worn out. But yeah, this is, overall, this is a pretty good example of a typical figure you'd find from this era. His paint's actually in pretty good shape, other than his head. He does need some touch-ups there. He's missing an eyebrow, but boots and everything else looks pretty good. Now, I've always been a fan of these figures, and I was really happy when Mattel announced that they were doing the Origins versions. So when we got the Origin version, this is what we got. So it's not exactly a faithful recreation of the Vintage. As you can tell, the armor piece in the center is a lot smaller. But they made up for it by making this a deluxe figure. Not only do you get the Battle Axe, but you get Power Sword. You get an additional head that is more retro looking. You get an additional hand. Now this is the left hand in order to allow him to hold both weapons. And then you get this weird glowing effect for his Power Sword, which basically it just slides on, and then he can hold it up and it looks like he's doing something with it. I'm not a fan of those. So let's take a look at the actual figure. He's got all that good rotation and articulation and all that good stuff that we're used to with the Origins line. It's a very nice, solid figure. As far as his battle armor, tap it once, tap it twice, and then you can roll it back. So it uses the same basic mechanism. It's just a lot smaller here. I'm not sure why they went that route with it, but it's not the end of the world. I am happy that they did this. They added, and where did the sword go? Okay, yeah. So on his back they added the little slot where he can hold a sword. So that's pretty cool. Now they did give us this new He-Man head that most people don't like. Let's get rid of that. Give him the retro head, much better. Yeah, so this is pretty cool. I was happy to get this. I wish that this was a little bit wider. It just kind of, I don't know, the proportions look a little off. But as far as a modern take on it, I'll live with it. I'm okay with what they did. Alright, so Skeletor, and we'll scoot all of He-Man's accessories over here. We'll go back to our Vintage. The Vintage, yeah, basically the same thing. You had a standard Skeletor head and arms and legs and all the articulation. You just got this version of the battle armor. And of course you can just roll it back. And this one will stay occasionally. Yeah, so that one stays. And of course he comes with his Havoc Staff and his version of the Power Sword. Now I was always probably more a fan of the Skeletor battle armor than I was the He-Man battle armor, just because I thought that bat with the green outline and the purple fill in was actually really cool. So that brings us to our Origins version of Battle Armor Skeletor. And this is a very nice upgrade. His doesn't look quite so odd as far as the width that the He-Man has, because he has all this sculpting all around it. So the window in which the little piece that spins doesn't quite seem so small. Now obviously it's a lot smaller than the original. You can see that. But it doesn't feel as small. He also comes with Havoc Staff, Power Sword, something we haven't had before, a shield for Skeletor. See if you can get a good close-up of that. It's got a skull sculpted on it. Pretty neat. He also gets an additional left hand so he can hold both of his weapons. And then he gets an additional head sculpt. This one I'm not quite as fond of, just because it's kind of like he's mean mugging, and I don't particularly like that. Whereas this one has more of that vintage goodness to it, with almost a bit of a smirk, which I really enjoy. Now he also has on his back a spot for him to hold his power sword, which that's neat. I wish they did that with all of the figures. And of course he has all that same articulation. And let's go ahead and look at his damage function. Is it even going to work? There we go. There we go, and it just rolls back to the starting point. Alright, let's do some side-by-side comparisons. We will move all of our accessories off to the side here. Alright, so let's get some quick measurements. We'll start with Battle Armor Skeletor. Our vintage is just shy of 5.5 inches. And our Origins is about 5 3/4 inch. Alright, now we'll get some measurements on Battle Armor He-Man. We'll start with our vintage. He's just shy of 5.5 inches. And our Origins is about 5 3/4 inch. Alright, so we're going to move all of these guys out of the way for the moment. And we're going to take a look at our Battlefield Warriors, which I've got here still in the package. And we're going to see what it's going to take to get him out. Alright, so now let's take a look at Battlefield Warriors. And as you can see, the packaging is it's very nice. We have really cool artwork up here at the top. It says Battlefield Warriors, Powerful Protectors of Eternia. Includes display stand and Castle Grayskull gargoyles, which are these down here, which is pretty neat. So we got Battle Armor He-Man and Battlecat. And as you can see, they actually have some battle damage on them. They got the little blood splatters, which is kind of cool. What's really nice about this He-Man is it's in vac metal, so I'm really excited to get that. Let's take a look at the back of the box. Again, we got some really nice artwork across the top here, and it's pretty neat. As you can see here, we have Faker riding into battle on Duplicat, as well as Skeletor on Panther. We've got Too Bad. It's just a really cool piece. Now, I find it interesting that the artwork here showing how to use the battle damage feature actually has the vintage style design on it as far as the size versus our new one. So that's kind of interesting that they kept the original style artwork on there. You also get an image of Battlecat on that display stand, how the gargoyles would hang on your Castle Grayskull if you have the Origins Castle Grayskull, which is right here, and then we got some cross-sell art. So this is a pretty neat set. I'm gonna go ahead and get it opened up, and we'll take a look. And as soon as I can figure out what's the least invasive way to open this. Alright, so it looks like over here on the side we got a piece of tape. Alright, so open the flaps on the side. And then we should be able to slide. Yeah, we'll just slide it straight out. Now this is a very large set. Spin it around here. Let me adjust the camera. Alright, so we got the insert out of the package. And as you can see here, we've got a lot of the little rubber bands holding everything in place. We are going to cut those. Alright, so now we got him out of the package here. And as you can see, I've got Battlecat posed on this little base that it comes with. We've got He-Man out. He's holding his battle axe. He's got his shield. And then he's got a couple little gargoyles here to fight. Also in the package, you get additional head, and it's that windswept hair, very similar to the one that comes with the, I believe it's the Flying Fist He-Man. I think it's basically the same head. You get an additional hand, unlike all the other ones where he comes with the open hand and then you can put the closed fist. It's the opposite here. He's got both the fists, and then you have the open hand as an additional accessory. He also has the power sword. And then, of course, like with all the regular figures anymore, you have the little sheet telling you what's removable, which is pretty neat. I like to hold on to these. Alright, so let's take a look at the figure. This is very nice. I like the vac metal. Again, it's got the retro style head. The only difference here is he's got that little bit of like a blood spatter on the cheek. You see it on the arm and on the leg. But essentially this is the same as the battle armor, other than those additional things. And then instead of the silver, it's got the vac metal, the chrome look to it. You still have all that standard articulation. As far as the battle damage piece, let's go ahead and get it to its starting point, if it'll even stay. There we go, there's our first position. Now I will have to say that some of the decals are already kind of coming off on that. So if you're a collector, you may not want to mess with that too much. Out of the package, it wasn't even set to the first position. So I'm not sure why that was worn out already. But it is a very nice figure. So to be fair, let's compare him to the standard release Battle Armor He-Man. And as you can see, that's a big difference as far as that metal. The vac metal definitely looks a lot nicer. Also has the little place you can hang his power sword. Essentially it's the same figure, just a little bit of different decoration. Now the Battlecat, you probably won't be able to tell here, but this armor is a much more vivid red, and it's shinier. I mean, not really metallic, but it's got a shinier look to it. It's very nice. Not quite as muted as the other. And it's got quite a bit of additional paint showing the damage. But other than that, it's the same basic figure. I think even the green and the orange are exactly the same as the standard retail release. So was it worth the additional funds? Because this was a $49.99 set. I can't say that it is, but I do prefer the vac metal over that standard gray. You really don't get a whole lot extra here. If you have the original, or if you have the Origins version of Castle Grayskull, it would be nice to have that stand to go along with it to complete like a display. If you're into dioramas, that's cool. Let's go ahead and give him this power sword as well, so we can display both of those. So here he is with his battle axe and power sword. I will say, sometimes I feel like these guys don't stand as well as they should. I think a lot of the vintage figures stand easier than some of the Origins figures. And that's a problem with the articulation. Everybody wants all that additional articulation, but it also means you're going to get a lot of like loose joints. Typically it's in the foot, the little pivot at the ankle, and the bend at the actual toe makes these figures sometimes not want to stand very well. So what do you think? Do you think it was worth the additional money to get this Battlefield Warrior set? Are you a hardcore collector? Would you prefer to keep this in the package? I debated on whether to open it, but I'm a out of box kind of collector. I don't prefer to keep my my Motu figures packaged, and that's one line that I open every single thing I get. So let's get another shot here. We'll bring in our other Origins figures. Alright guys, so that's going to do it for me today. I appreciate you guys sticking around and watching another video. If you would take a moment, like the video. If you got some thoughts you want to share with everyone, go ahead, sound off in the comments. And you guys have a great day. Thanks.